Kia ora koutou, and welcome to this live stream all around what is MLP anyway. So I'm here with Angela Vermeulen.
Kia ora everybody.
And she's here to share some of her experiences, some key messages, and answer some of your questions around MLP. So welcome to this live stream all around what is MLP anyway. Apologies.
In our heads.
So Ange, what is MLP anyway?
Good question, and it's a really hard one to define because the context of each school, kura, ECE, even secondary, will differ in thinking about the community, the students at each space. So it is really hard because modern learning practice or innovative learning practice or the words that are out there at the moment, no one size fits all, but around MLP, it really is about rethinking and new thinking, especially in the areas of learner autonomy, students who are really at the centre. So moving towards more of a student-centred system or structure, the rethinking the governance, the leadership that happens within schools and services in ECE, the environment and how that's changing, the curriculum, how that's changing, and how technology is also supporting the rethinking and the changes of this, and ultimately the way that we are collaborating more and how collaboration is people to people and people to technology and the digital realm, both globally and nationally as well. So there's huge things to think about with MLP. It's definitely hard to define.
So thinking about this, you talked about there being huge things to consider when looking at the concept of modern learning practice, and it's not just around those statement of being modern learning, but around practice, and there's a lot of multifaceted in what ways you need to consider it and look at it. So thinking about that, what would be some of the key messages you would want people to take away in terms of where to start and what to consider when looking at implementing a modern learning program in their schools?
So there's probably 4 key areas with modern learning practice that you need to be rethinking. It's number 1, rethinking students and how students learn, putting them at the centre, of course, and how schools are organised is what you really need to be rethinking about. How learning is different for students. Their world is different now. They're growing up in the world of global trends, really, and they're right in the centre of it. So there's a lot of research that sits behind how we need to be rethinking the way that the students learn. The next one is rethinking teaching and the act of teaching. What are the fundamental ideas that sit behind our current practice and what needs to change in order to support how we're rethinking the way that students learn? What's driving us to change? So starting to think about the teaching and teachers, the person who you are, your disposition as a teacher, what you bring and how that is changing as well. The 4th area is the rethinking the learning. So if we're rethinking teaching, we're rethinking students, the learning is obviously the next big thing that we need to be rethinking about. What is making learning happen in the classroom? And if students are at the centre, the learning is obviously changing because you're changing to fit around learner autonomy and personalisation. And so that's changing. And how can we plan to adapt to those new approaches for how the environment also supports that? The last one is the rethinking the support, and what we mean by that is around curriculum, digital technologies, and the environment, and resources that are available to us to support how we rethink. And all of that encompasses the way that we would be rethinking our learning, our teaching, and the way that students learn. So hopefully, yeah, those key things.
So just to summarise, when we're looking at modern learning practice, there's almost 4 key areas that we need to be thinking about, and we always start with the people. So the learners are at the centre of everything that we do and change. So thinking about what's best for them and where they're heading and how we can best support them. And in line with that, changing or rethinking how we as teachers work and what things we can be doing differently. And that will then impact how we rethink the learning that happens and any support that we need to put into place to support that process as a whole. Kia ora. So thinking about what we've just talked about there, it was a great segue into the course that CORE are offering around modern learning practice. Could you give our viewers a bit more of an insight into what they would get out of the modern learning course that is on offer?
I'd like to do that through a story of a gentleman who came through the 20-week course last year. He was put in charge of finding out what this MLP is all about, and he joined the MLP course quite green-faced about it and quite excited and really enthusiastic, and going into had quite traditional single-cell classrooms, and he was sort of asked to explore. He took it on. He really embraced the 20 weeks and all the challenges, and really questioned why, used the research to help. And then he found that what the course was able to get him to do was to take back and lead the change back in his school. And at the end of the 20 weeks, I remember having a conversation around him about one of the challenges, and he just said if the ongoing support and the ongoing thinking and the research that's sat in behind this 20-week course, and the chance to sit with other educators around New Zealand and hear stories and hear challenges and really break down what it is he needed in order to lead the change back in the school, empowered him. And he just said the difference that was happening for him as a educator, and then becoming this leader of leading this change, him having the confidence to go back and then do this with the staff, was he just said it was a game changer for him and his school, taking on this 20-week course, which was really cool to hear and see. And I think that's what we do this course for, I think, to be able to support staff to really lead the way, because it's an organisational change, MLP. It's not just, you can't just have one thing change and hopefully it solves the problem or meets the challenges. But this course was able to give him that, and then able to meet him at ULearn afterwards as well was really cool, and he see his leadership growth was really empowering for me as a facilitator for the course. But it really is just giving people a chance to tell their story, hear other stories, make some tweaks to transform and go from there. It's very cool.
So it's almost as though the course really looks and filters the information out there, the research, the theories, and actually support people to put real life changes into place that are context specific. So they're really honed in at what's happening for them in their school and lead that change.
And it was ongoing. I think the length of time is sustainable. One-off PLD, as we know, is not effective. So that the chance for him to keep coming back in over those 20 weeks and was really powerful. And he just said it's just given him the ability to grow from there, which was really, really cool to hear.
So what are some of the ways in which the course work that enable that to happen? What is it that the facilitators do to support the learning along the way?
The conversation and the chance to really reflect and evaluate and make changes, and that the course material is designed to be really hands-on and practical, and actually something that you can go back and implement that change in your school. And no matter the type of school that you're at, it could a kaupapa, it could be an ECE, it can be a secondary, you can take that context and place it into your own space. And I think that's giving them the chance to come in and actually really reflect and say, this is what I'm thinking of doing, and have the online space for people to chat and share ideas and say, I've tried this, is really powerful. Yeah.
And something that from my own experience in modern learning practice courses is around just something you talked about there. It's not just about one size fits all, it's for your context. So we have had a range of schools. We've even had the Cook Islands come in.
Yeah, they were great.
And RTLBs come along. So thinking about how their role is evident, or what things they can do to support changes within school. So from my own experience, the facilitation of the course is really around supporting you to make that change and making the pathway as easy as possible for you along the way. So many stories could be shared today, and it's great that we've got captured one. And we want to really help to get your story, support your journey in modern learning practice. So in summary of what we've just touched upon this lunchtime, what would be your final message? What would be the key takeaway you'd want our viewers to think about when they think about what MLP is anyway, and what they could be doing now to make some changes or reflecting?
I think the final key message, and we probably both are going to have good key messages to summarize, is that we're all learners in this journey, and that it's changing all the time, and to be able to chat with other educators and learn and grow together is so powerful. I learn every time I delve into the MLP course, and delve into just sitting with other educators and chatting. I'm learning all the time, but to have the chance to share with other practitioners on the ground is so powerful. And I think the final message is that there is no right way, but there are mistakes and successes to learn from. So to be able to learn where people have gone wrong and how they've learned and how they've changed and how they have improved. But that it's always the learners at the centre. I think that's the key for this. That it's definitely changing because the learners are right there in the middle.
Absolutely.
Yeah. What about you, Sarah?
I would echo what you've just said there. And so probably for me, the biggest message from me would be, forget the word, forget the acronym. MLP, Modern Learning Practice. It is what you make it, and started off our conversation with that. It's around making a change, a meaningful change that is supporting teaching and learning for today and for the future. Doesn't matter what small changes or what big changes you make, it's about making those changes and being really clear as to who you're making those changes for and the impact that they're going to make on. So it's been an absolute pleasure to hang out with Ange again at this lunchtime. We know that people are probably very busy, and so the great thing about this is it's recorded. And then if you do have any questions for us, we will be available in the discussion forum. So please do jump in there, ask some questions, and either myself or Ange will be there to be able to respond. Otherwise, come and join Ange in the MLP course, or flick her an email and see what else we could offer you. So all that's left from me is to say ka kite and have a great rest of the day.
Ka kite. See you all soon.